Okay, so I simply had to comment on Whatifalthist's new video about the four religions fighting over America. And what I have to admit, in the first part of the video is actually pretty interesting, and I actually agree with many of his points. But in the other part of his video, he offers us a shit sandwich, in a way. So maybe it is because I am most educated about communism. I wrote my final thesis on the issue of communism, so I can actually see when he makes mistakes in his analysis of communism. Maybe that's the reason why, to me, it seems that this video just became progressively crazy as it was nearing its end. But maybe it's just the fact that Whatifalthist, for whatever reason, is unable to analyze communism as objectively as other issues. I don't know, but okay, let's find out what is happening.
For another dark age. Number 3, Marxists at a quarter of the population. This story is so unbelievably bizarre that I think our descendants will struggle to believe that it was ever real. Communism was the ideology which killed the most people in human history. By a truly vast margin, it was tried in every single continent, climate, and civilization. It killed more people than every other religion and ideology in history combined.
Okay, here I simply have to intervene. So, I'm not saying that there are no good arguments against communism. There are many. For example, my argument against communism would be that under the original definition of communism, communism requires a phase called a dictatorship of the proletariat. And as Bakunin, who was an anarchist, actually said that this idea, that this dictatorship of the proletariat is one day going to abolish itself, which is what Marx believed if you read the Communist Manifesto, well, that idea is kind of crazy. So to believe that the great dictator of this dictatorship of the proletariat will one day abolish his own power, that's unrealistic. Or if that's not what Marx believed, if that's not what he believed, then he never defined what is the mechanism that is going to be used in order for this dictatorship to be abolished, which is a pretty big issue with the entire ideology. But I digress. So this idea that communism killed more people than all other ideologies in the world, there is only one problem with this idea. It isn't the truth. So let me explain. How can I prove to you that this isn't the truth? Let's just think for a moment about this question. So, do we even have the numbers for how many people died in all religious wars throughout history? No, we actually don't have the numbers. So, if we were to count every single person killed by the expansion of the Islamic Caliphate and all other Islamic states throughout history and all Islamic terrorism, if we were to count every single person killed by that, surely that would be more than communism. But where the issue gets complicated is because some Muslim terror groups are also nationalist, and they also have, let's say, causes that are not caused only by Islam, like Hamas, for example. They have a very, I would say, a very nationalist cause. They want a Palestinian state. So, do we count people killed by Hamas as people killed by Islam, or do we count it as something else? I'm not sure. But what Whatifalthist suggests about communism is the same thing that many other people, like Jordan Peterson, want to do, and that is they take every single person killed by a communist regime throughout history and they say these people, they were killed by communism. Well, okay, if you want to count the dead that way, that's fine, but then let's do the same with Christianity, Islam, perhaps even capitalism, although capitalism is not a clear ideology, it is just a lack of restrictions on a free market. But if we were to count every single person killed by Christian states, that would include the entire history of European colonialism, the Atlantic slave trade, the early Christian heresies going to war with each other in 4th century in Rome. It would include the Crusades, Inquisition, the 30 Years War, many other, like the Serbian nationalists killing Muslims in Bosnia. So all of that could be seen as people killed by Christianity, if we were to apply the same standards that we apply to communism. And that's my argument against this wild claim that communism is the ideology that killed most people in the world. The truth is, we simply don't know. Nobody ever counted every single person killed by a specific religion. Okay, let us continue.
Then after that, they changed their name and were able to quietly take over the institutions of the entirety of Western civilization. The West didn't even really put up a fight, sacrificing its economy, culture, romance, religion, foreign policy, or literally anything else you could possibly imagine without even realizing it was happening. This degree of idiocy should not be physically possible. However, that didn't stop it from happening. I'll explain later why I think it occurred. That being said, we live in a society which is run by Marxists. Every single institution that exists has been co-opted by Marxists. This is the case for Hollywood, TV, the media, the government bureaucracy, corporations, the upper brass of the military, the
Wait a minute, my friend. We are talking about the United States here. Did he just say, or am I going crazy? Did he just say that the American military is run by Marxists? Like, what the hell, man? What the hell? What are we talking about even in this video? So, I can understand if one were to say that colleges are controlled by Marxists. Okay, I don't fully agree with this. Some bizarre version of neo-Marxism, maybe, of this critical race theory that is inspired by Marxism, is that dominant in the United States educational system currently? Perhaps yes, but the United States military surely isn't run by Marxists. On the contrary, like, if you are on the left and you're a politician in the United States, you will get labeled as a communist in order for you to be discredited. Like, that's what happened to Bernie Sanders, for example. But yeah, so, and also what I think is also important to note. Well, as Whatifalthist rightly observed, many ideologies that exist today are in a way inspired by Marxism. But to say that all of it is Marxism is simply untrue. It's like searching for if you believe that all of these bizarre offshoots of Marxism are Marxism, then you are like experiencing a modern version of a Red Scare. Not everything is Marxism. Not everything inspired by Marxism is Marxism. Marxism is in a weird way inspired by Christianity, because Christianity is the, according to Peter Brown, the first mainstream ideology that espoused this ideal that all humans are equal, and that same idea can be found in Marxism. And one of the reasons for why communism became so popular is that the Christian societies forgot about that ideal in their colonial societies. But I digress. So yeah, what I wanted to say is that this new, let's say, wokeness, or this new critical race theory is actually so different from Marxism. It really isn't a rational position to call it Marxism, because if we are to say that all ideologies that want to help the oppressed are Marxism, then we would also have to call fascism Marxism. Why is that? Because fascism also claims it wants to help the oppressed, but in the mind of the fascist, a dominant demographic in a state is actually oppressed. For Hitler, an average German was somehow oppressed by the Jews and communists, and that is why, in his eyes, Germany lost World War One. So what the fascists do is actually the reverse of what woke people today do. So woke people today are obsessed with finding minorities in a societies, minorities or certain groups that are not dominant, and protecting them, kind of doing reverse racism in order to help them. While the fascists, and by the way, the fascists here kind of remind me of this new right-wing ideology that I believe Whatifalthist to an extent espouses. He's not a fascist. Of course, I do think that he's a liberal, actually. But what fascists used to do is something that this new crazy ideology on the right also does, and that is it actually claims that the dominant demography in Western societies, that demography is oppressed somehow by minorities. And well, look, sometimes there are legitimate grievances in the same way in which the Treaty of Versailles was unjust, and one could make the case that in that way the German people were oppressed. But we should be then very careful with how do we fight against those legitimate grievances. Do we go fully in the crazy fascist direction, or do we still believe in individual rights and democracy, and do we still preserve these great liberal democratic systems that we have in the West? Okay, that's all for this video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you liked this video.